Hi everyone, I'm Darren Lithgow, and today I'll be installing the full version of TNG 13. Now, if you've already purchased the program, you should have received an email with the download information, a link and a login. Use that to get to a page that looks like this. Here on the downloads page, you'll want to look in the full version section for the most recent version. Just click on that link and it will start the download to your computer. Once the file's been downloaded, you'll need to extract it, unzip it. Many of you have a program used for zipping and unzipping, like WinZip. You can use that, or these days, usually you just have to double-click on the file in your Finder or your Windows Explorer. That will do the extraction. Once the files are extracted, you want to look for the file called readme.html. That's where the installation instructions are located. Just open that file in your browser and you'll see what to do next. Here, I've already opened it. Here's what it looks like. Just follow the basic instructions in the middle where it says begin here. Don't forget to complete the steps in order as it says. Also, if you want to stop part way, come back and finish later, you can do that. You don't have to redo anything that you did the first time. The first step is to upload or copy all the files and folders from the TNG zip file to your website, to the location where you plan to run TNG. So if this is your first time you've done anything with your website, it's a brand new site, or if you want your domain name to point directly to your TNG installation, then you want to put the TNG files in what's called the root folder. Usually not called that per se. Usually it'll be called public HTML or www or htdocs, something like that. Now, if you already have an established website and you just want to add TNG to it, you'll want to create a new folder for the TNG files. I'll show you that in a minute. Okay, so to get the files to your website, you'll probably want an FTP program. Stands for File Transfer Protocol. I like an FTP program because it lets you drag and drop lots of files and folders at once. You can also use the file manager on your control panel that your host has given you, but you may not have all the same features. Now, one program that I like for this is called FileZilla. It has everything you need and it's free. So what more do you want? Here I've opened FileZilla, and up in the upper left there's an icon for the site manager. Here's where you will enter the connection information in order to connect your computer to your website. You can get this information from your hosting provider. When you sign up with them, they probably sent you an email with this information anyway. I've entered my host name and my username and password. There's also the FTP protocol. Maybe your host wants you to use SFTP, so make sure to choose the right thing there. And when you've got it all entered in those fields, just click the connect button. Okay, it's that quick. Now, over on the left, here are the files on my computer, and over on the right, the files on my server's computer. So here on the right, the first thing I'm going to do is look for that public HTML folder right here. So I'm going to double click on that to go into it. These are all the folders and files that are visible on my website. So since I have an existing website, I'm just going to create a new folder for the TNG files. So I'll right click anywhere in there and choose create directory. Let's just call it TNG 13. Okay, let's double click on that. It's an empty directory. So here's where I would drag and drop all the files over. So let's go back over to the left side and I'll find the location of my TNG files. Okay. And to get them over to the right, I just drag and drop them. Now you could do it one at a time like this. That would take forever. So it's easier to just select them all. Now, when you select, of course, you could use the shift button to select multiple at a time, or you can use your command or control button to do the same thing. But just press your command or control button and then the letter A, and that will select everything at once. Then you can just click anywhere and drag the whole lot over to the right. Now, I'm not going to do that right now. That would take too long. So just like a cooking show, I've done this already in advance. I put it all in a folder called For Video. So I'm going to show you that instead. Okay, so here are all the TNG files and folders that I uploaded previously. They're all there for you. Let's go back to the instructions. Now you notice in step number 2, it says if you were viewing this guide, this README file, on your home computer, close the page now and browse to it on your website instead. Some people get confused by this. What I mean is, look up in the address bar at the top. And you'll see for me right now it says file, and there's a path right up to the readme.html, which means I'm looking at this as a file on my own computer. And if I were to continue with the rest of the instructions, I would find that most of them would not work now because I need to change this to look at my website instead. So let's just highlight all of that and instead type in the location of my website. And I can type the readme.html in the end, but it isn't necessary. If you leave that part off, TNG will find the instructions for you. So here they are, same thing we were looking at before, only now you'll notice we are on a website. So excellent. Let's keep going to step number 3. This one is called Set Permissions. As it says there, some of the files and folders in TNG need to be made writable. That means the program needs to be able to change them from time to time. So to get there, all we have to do is click the button that says Set Permissions. And permissions have all been set. Sometimes the server won't allow this, and if that's the case, you'll see a red error message that says there's a problem, you have to do it manually. If that happens, you can usually do it from your FTP program or from your site control panel. Your host can help you with that. For now, let's move on to the next step, rename 2 folders. So there are a few bad actors out there on the internet who maybe know that all the TNG installations out there have the same name for the backups folder and the GEDCOM folder. And so to avoid allowing them to sneak into your website and download these files without your permission, we advise you to rename them here. So you can pick anything, you can name it Fred, or just add something to the end like ABC XYZ, like so. And then just click the button, rename folder, rename folder. Excellent. Now if you come in again later, if you stop halfway and come back and try and set the permissions again, you may see a message now about the backups folder and the GEDCOM folder can't have the permissions set, and that's because you renamed them. So if you see that, just don't worry. It's already been taken care of. Skipping down to step 5 now, you want to choose your primary language. Now, if English is your language, UTF-8 is fine for the character set. Just click Save and continue. Now, if you have a different primary language, select it from the drop-down list here. You'll notice that most of them have a UTF-8 and an ISO 8859-1 equivalent. ISO 8859-1 is another name for ANSI, which you may be familiar with. Basically, UTF-8 is better for languages and alphabets that have special characters, diacritics, accents, that kind of thing. If you don't have any of that kind of those kind of characters in your data, or if your program, your genealogy program, won't let you create a UTF-8 file, then you might want to go with the ISO version. But for everyone else, I highly recommend you choose UTF-8. Click Save. That's all there is to that. Now, the most tricky part of the whole installation is probably this step 6, connecting to your database. So you need to know, you need to have a database name and a login for that database. This will be different from your control panel or your FTP login. Your host may know this information, or they may want you to create the database for yourself on your control panel. I'm going to go to my own control panel. And let's go back to the database page. Let's go back to the home page to show you what it would look like. Most control panels look like this. And they have a database section, which is where I was. And I'll just click on My SQL Databases. And here it's going to allow me to create a new database. So you notice most of the time they have a prefix at the front. So whatever you type in here, it's going to be appended to that prefix. Now I'm going to call my new database TNG 13. Click the button, and it's been added. Go back. After the database is in place, and the next thing I want to do is create a user for that database. So I'm going to scroll down to this section where it says Add New User. And once again, it's going to have a prefix there. Let's call this one TNG 13 user. And I'm going to type, this is my password 2020. This is my password 2020. Okay. Create the user. All done. There's one very important step left, and that is to, scrolling down again, to add the user to the database. If you forget to do that, the user will have no rights on your database, so it's like they're not there at all anyway. So find the user that you just created and the database that you created, and click Add. Now you're going to be presented with this page where it shows you a bunch of privileges, and you want your new user to have all the privileges to your database. And most time there'll be a checkbox at the top here. You can select all privileges, check them all at once. Then click Make Changes at the bottom, and you're set. Okay, let's go back to the installation instructions and enter our information there. We didn't talk about the host name yet. Most of the time, that's just going to be localhost. If it's anything other than localhost, your provider should tell you, maybe in the control panel or maybe in an email when you sign up with them. If for some reason you enter all the rest of the information here and it doesn't want to connect, it could be that your provider wants you to use something else for the host name. So ask them at that point. All right, let's enter my database name and my database user. Okay, and the password, which was this is my password 2020. Okay, now there are a couple other fields down here, the port and the socket. Very few of you will need that information. If you do, you'll know who you are. But everyone else, just leave those two things blank. Don't worry about it. Click Save and Verify. Okay, information saved, connection verified. Fantastic. If you see a red message there, it means something up here is wrong. So like I said, it might be the host name. Could be you entered the password wrong. So double check that information. The last part involving the database is to create the tables. So inside the database, we need to have various tables for things like people, families, children, etc. So this is where we do that. And you need to pick a database collation, which again has to do with the various characters that are used in your data. So if you chose a UTF-8 language above, you probably want to use this UTF-8 general case insensitive collation that I picked as the default. If you know that you need other special characters, then you can enter a different collation there if you'd like. Okay, then just click Save and Create. Tables have been created. Okay, the next step is to create a user login for yourself, for your TNG website, so you can get into the admin portion, and so that no one else can get into that admin portion and change things on your website. So here's where you'll create a username for yourself. Could be anything you want. Just be sure to enter an email address for yourself. That way, if you forget your username or password later, you can ask to have it emailed to you. So that's important. Step 9, create a tree. A tree is just a container for your genealogy. You can have multiple trees on your website. There's no limit really to however many you can have. The key thing to remember is that a tree is an independent data set. So information in one tree can't be linked to a person or family in another tree. So if the people in your various trees can or are related to each other or can be related, then you probably want to just stick with one tree. The tree ID should be something short. No special characters, no spaces. It's only going to ever be visible up here in the address bar. So don't spend too much time worrying about that. You can keep tree 1 if you want, or just the number 1, or T1, or ABC, or what your surname. It doesn't matter. Just keep it short. The tree name, that can be longer. Lithgow's family history. You can change that later at any time. So again, don't spend too much brain power on it right now. Just go ahead and create the tree. And the last thing, step 10, is to select a template or theme. This is the general style, color scheme, layout of your website. If you want to see what options are available, click this button, this link. You'll see it looks like this. You can see all the various options. Take note of the number if you want to use template 15, for example. Go back to the instructions and choose number 15. And just click select template. Information saved. Again, that can be changed at any time later if you'd like. So don't worry about picking, if you've picked one you want to change your mind later, don't worry about that, you can. Okay, below the numbered steps, there are a few other things that you might want to look at, other settings that can be used to customize your environment to some degree. There's a link for your data, which describes importing your GEDCOM file or entering data manually. A little bit about customizing your TNG pages, which I'll go into it in a different video, but relates back to the template a little bit and a few other notes. At the bottom, there are links to your home page and to your admin menu, which you can go to from there. But at this point, you're up and running, and that's all. Thanks very much. Bye.